Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Beyond the Plate RVA. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Rebecca Pierce, CEO and Chief Baker of Maggie's Custom Sweet Treats, which is a sponsor of the show, and also founder of RLP Productions, which hosts the show. I'm super excited to be back with you for our final episode of season 5. It's been a fantastic season with some phenomenal guests, and I so appreciate each and every woman who's come on the show to tell us her story. And I hope you guys will go back and listen to or watch all of their interviews and give them some love. Follow them on their socials. So once again, this show is brought to you by Maggie's Custom Sweet Treats. We're here out of Richmond, Virginia, and again, premise behind the show is that we promote, support, and put out there Black and brown women in the food, beverage, and spirits industries. Of course, we were this idea for this show. I got this from being a guest for the past 2-3 years and a sponsor for the past 2 years of Black Women in Food Summit in Washington, D.C. And so I hope again to be a part of it next year. But that's enough about me. I have a fantastic guest for you today. And I think this is such a great topic to end the season on, because this show is all about food, savory meals, and saucy stories, right? But it's all about really our entrance as women of color in particular, how food has been a part of our stories from the beginning. And, we talk a lot on the show about what's your food story, the connection between Black women in particular and food and love. And so I brought on the show today a phenomenal woman who reached out to us, and I'm so excited to have her. And she's in food storytelling, or I'm going to let her tell you. But I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome to the show, Michelle Petties, who is our food diva extraordinaire. How are you, Michelle?
Oh, Rebecca, I am doing great. I'm doing fabulous. Thanks so much for holding space for this conversation. Thanks so
Absolutely.
much for Beyond the Plate conversations and the work that you're doing. And thanks so much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh my gosh. So tell us a little bit about you. What's your food story?
Before we jumped on this morning, I mean, just jumped on a few moments ago. I was like, let me just get this clear: this savory meals and saucy stories.
Yes.
I love that tag. I love that tag. But to answer your question, my work, Rebecca, sits at the intersection of food, emotion,
Mm-hmm.
tradition, family, culture, and trauma. See,
Yes.
today. I don't see us talking about so much about the trauma, but I do see us talking about that intersection of food and emotion, and that intersection, everything kind of spills out,
Mm-hmm.
spills out from there. But I'm a writer. I'm a food story coach. That and that's not what I've always been. I spent 40 years of my
Mm-hmm.
career in media, in advertising, working for Radio One, for Urban One, for ABC, Disney, selling advertising behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But for the 40 years that I was doing that, I was struggling with food. I had
Right.
some food stories that were keeping me imprisoned and keeping me in an unhealthy, not just an unhealthy body, but unhealthy thoughts, unhealthy life. And when I wrote my book, Leaving Large, The Stories of a Food Addict, I broke free from that. And I now support other women, primarily women, and anybody who's ready, uh, primarily Black women, how to get in touch with their food stories so that
Mm-hmm.
they can have some freedom, some peace, and some real joy around how they nourish their bodies with food.
All right. And the reason why I definitely wanted to have you on the show is because this is a part of the conversation that we need to have around not not just food consumption, but food creation and what Black and brown women are doing in the food space to not only address our unhealthy relationships with food, because part of the conversation that is not talked about is the trauma part that you said we might not have enough time to talk about. But I'm actually all about that. That's one of the
Yes.
reasons why I founded this podcast and the premise from which I write, in my writing career. And so when was the moment that it came to you that this is not only something, a conversation. I love Patrice Cullors in her book, The Abolitionist Handbook. One of the things she talks about, a chapter she has in there is called Courageous Conversations. And it's about sitting down with self and speaking with self about naming what you need, naming the trauma so that you
Mm-hmm.
can heal from it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So what was the moment when you had to have that courageous conversation with yourself, confront it, and then decide to go public with it?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that Rebecca is a really multi-layered
Mhm.
question, and I don't know that there was a particular moment. This journey for me unfolds every day, right? Part of that unfolding happened when I started writing my book. But I don't know that there was a particular moment because first of all, I didn't even realize I was traumatized.
Right.
And what I'm finding so much in my work is I'm coaching women, with their food stories, with their trauma around food. So many of us don't even realize it, don't even know it, don't even understand it.
Mhm.
We're just like moving through life,
Right.
moving through life because we have used food to help us through it,
Hoping.
to as a coping tool rather than a nourishment tool, and not understanding that. And what the key I really found out is once we learn how to cope, once we learn how to deal with the emotions, once we learn how to deal with the stress, the anxiety, the fear, the humiliation, the disappointment, what all the emotions that just show up in life every day, and not go to food for that, when we can when we get the skills to manage the emotions, then we can truly enjoy the food.
Right.
We can enjoy the food. But if we're just using the food to mask discomfort, to
Mhm.
separate it from us, we don't even taste it. We don't even, I mean,
Right.
we don't get what we need from it, which is nutrition and nourishment. And so we start looking for the food to supply and do things that it cannot do. I
Exactly.
mean, we can't have a relationship with food because food can't have a relationship with us.
Right.
Right.
And
So what we
you're
can do,
right.
what we can do is
Right.
manage it, right?
Right.
What we can do is understand it, right? We can gain mastery,
Mhm.
and use it in its proper way. But for me to answer your question, the moment, a pivotal moment for me, I'm not gonna say the moment, but the pivotal moment for me came when I had what I feel like was a rock bottom moment, and it was a moment when I ate way too much pizza in way too
Mm.
short a period of time, and I thought I can't keep fighting this battle. There is something wrong, and I dropped it. And I was at a conference. I dropped it and went straight to my doctor's office, and
Mhm.
I actually write about this in my book. And I went to my doctor who had told me she had a diet plan that I could work with. And I was like, oh no, I don't need that. I don't need that. Right. And so I go to her office and I just say, help me. And she says, okay, let me find out what's going on. She asked me some questions and she says, here, I have a program for you. It's a low calorie program. If you follow this program, you will lose weight. You will not be hungry. And Rebecca, I knew that I could do it because I had been
Mhm.
doing it for 40 years, but I would always gain the weight back. I mean, it's like to the tune of 40
Right.
years, 700 pounds, losing, gaining, losing, gaining. But before I left my doctor's office, I prayed. I prayed for some understanding around food that I didn't have before because I knew I needed to get off the hamster wheel. I just let it go. And I was doing well, which I knew I would be. But there came a time over the course of the weeks, the months, I wanted to eat. And I just had to ask myself, why do I want to eat right now? Because the doctor said if I follow this plan, I won't be hungry. Right? Right. And so why do I want to eat? Because I know that I'm not hungry. And here's the stubble that bubbled up in which I call my life before I had this kind of recognition and before I had this recognition. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice or not. But I'm from the South. I grew up in Texas in the deep South in the sixties, grew up on a farm. And which is one of the reasons why this black woman food is so intriguing to me. but
Right.
one one summer we were on my uncle's farm and we were having a cookout barbecue, black people barbecue cookout.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
what we do. And we brought out the watermelon. right? No big surprise. And I asked my uncle if he wanted some watermelon. And he said to me, no, I don't eat watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
And this, Rebecca, be clear, this was sometime in the 90s.
Right.
And I heard him, but I didn't know what I was listening to. I didn't recognize what I heard. He said, I don't eat watermelon. He didn't say I don't like it. He didn't even say I don't want it. He just said I don't eat it. And I'm like, what do you mean? We're all here. It's your watermelon, it's your farm. You don't, there's gotta be a reason why you don't eat it. Why don't you eat it? And he just kept saying, I just don't. There's a reason. So I broke him down. Right. I broke him down. And he finally told me that when he was a kid, 1930s Marshall, Texas, deep south, he and somebody stole a watermelon from a neighbor's yard. Mm-hmm. My grandfather, who was his father, found out about it, and my grandfather wasn't happy. Two things about my grandfather. My grandfather was a church trustee and a railroad worker. Right. And the one person that a kid that just stole a watermelon does not want to meet is that guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so my grandfather beat him. My grandfather beat him so severely.
Right.
In 1930.
Yes.
Yeah. And that phrase, I'll beat the taste out of your mouth. That's true. That actually happens, right? Mm-hmm. And so he beat him so severely in 1930s Marshall, Texas, that in 1991, when I'm asking him about watermelon, he didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Wow.
Well, when he told me that story, that's how I felt. Like I felt this, oh my God, well, Billy did. And I even asked him then, Billy, do you think maybe the lesson was supposed to be thou shalt not steal?
Right.
And he just said, I don't eat watermelon. And that was the end of that.
It was traumatizing.
Well, Rebecca, that story it was traumatizing. Yes, that was the emotion that he connected to the food. And that was the moment for me when I understood what emotional eating was all about. Right. Some 30 years later, when it bubbled up, right? That my uncle didn't eat the food because of the memory, because of the event, because of the experience that he associated with the food. As soon as I got that clarity, I understood emotional eating just like that. And I understood that all of my overeating, all the ways that I had misused food were directly associated with emotions that made me that was so connected to pleasure that I wanted the pleasure, not necessarily the food. I was looking for the association and what the food meant.
Well, that's one of the complexities, I think, of being Black women or the Black community in general, is that, because of our history, food was scarce. And so when to create a meal out of nothing was seen as an act of love. But then somehow it got twisted where the act of preparing food got intertwined somehow with the emotional connection to, here, eat this bowl of macaroni and cheese. This will make you feel better. Right? That's the challenge.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The food gets the credit. The food gets the credit for the expression. And so when the work of being a food story coach, what I help people with is to separate that. Is to help people understand what they really want, to get the separation from the food and the feeling. Separate the food from the feeling. And when you can separate the food from the feeling, which is what you're really looking for.
Right. Do you find that
that's when the real work begins.
Do you find that you get kind of pushback, especially from Black and brown women, about that conversation about you're really eating this because there's an emotion that you're suppressing versus, eat to live versus living to eat? Do you find that you get a lot of pushback on that? Well, my mama always made me this when I wasn't feeling this, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, Rebecca, what I would say is that by the time I start working with people, they have tried so many other things that have not worked.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And by the time we start to have the conversation, by the time they hear the watermelon story, by the time they hear the other stories, it's clicking in. It's starting to make sense. Right. So they can, right? And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, was because I wanted people to see their stories in my own story, because we are all so connected and we all have the same.
I mean,
right? But nobody.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Use the lag, people. As it seems like there's a lag. Of course, it's the Wi-Fi, being that we have a storm here in Richmond, a snowstorm, which we don't really get ever. So this is, an anomaly. But I'm sorry, but my apologies for interrupting. What I wanted to say was what you're talking about sounds so much like what Janine Roth spoke about years ago when she wrote her book Women, Food, and God. And
Mm-hmm.
also what Tina Lifford talks about in her book, The Little Book of Big Lies.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes down to having that courageous conversation with yourself about, why are you eating this?
Yes, 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 yes. So here's what I um one of the ways that I support people, right? And my support really comes from really my own journey. So the first thing that I help people get clear on is the purpose of food.
Right. Oh,
And
yes. That's a
and
big one.
when we get focused on when we get focused on the fact that the purpose is nutrition and nourishment, that it is fuel for our body, and we can stay in that lane because we live in a culture that tells us that the only reason to eat is for pleasure.
Right.
And when I think about my own life, right, and even though I grew up on a farm, I grew up with grandparents that taught me to eat nutritiously and for nourishment. I got away from it. I got away from it, when I went to college. I got away from it when I started working in sales and food became entertainment and it was part of just moving in the world and it was exciting. It was tied to all this other stuff rather than how am I nourishing my brain? How am I nourishing my body? It all became about what looks good, what tastes good, not what's in it. Not even is the
Oh, let's go ahead and stop here for a moment, Handbug.
and was three.
We had a pause here. There was it dropped
Mhm.
for a second. We had a quick drop in the in what you were saying for a second. So can you repeat what you were saying?
So to get really clear on what's food and what's real food and what's fake food, what
Yeah.
is actually going to heal you when you eat it versus hurt you when you eat it,
Okay.
and to know that, right? So you've got that thing to get clear on. Is this real food or is it fake food? Is it going to hurt me? Or is it going to heal me? And it because food, what we eat is not neutral. It's going to do one thing or the other. It is going to cure us or is ultimately going to send us into some sort of state of decline, our health, even if we don't feel it right away. That. And then the other the other thing is, what am I is it real hunger, or is it question I always ask people to pose to themselves?
Is it
What am
are you
what am
really
I feeling
hungry?
right now?
Right. Yeah.
How do I know it's hunger? Was I hungry a few minutes? Are you really hungry? Because we get cues in this environment all the time to tell us to eat when we're not hungry, right? I mean, we're working. I'm always watching that. It's like one of the examples that I use is, have you ever watched these morning news shows or any television show that's talking about food, and they'll bring on the celebrity chefs and they have something that
Yes.
they're cooking, and it looks really delicious, and the personality would say, "Oh my God, this looks so great! You're making me hungry." Right? They
Yes.
they say that this looks hungry. This looks great. You're making me hungry. So look at food does not make you hungry. Looking at food, delicious, appetizing food may create a desire to eat, but the desire to eat and real hunger are two different things. And so we're cued all the time by processed food manufacturers, people that are trying to sell food, to get it, to buy it, to eat it, to consume it, because that's their business, which isn't necessarily in line with what our body needs at the time. So we have to decide: am I really hungry right now, or am I being influenced by these outside sources to eat? And if you're eating for pleasure and you're in some sort of state of discomfort, some sort of emotional state of discomfort that you might not even recognize, right? That
Right.
right that then you can then you find yourself just picking up stuff because it tastes good, because not even because it's comforting, because it's giving you some pleasure to mask this
What's
thing
going on? Right. Right.
of what's going on.
Which is fascinating because as a baker,
Right now.
I said, as a baker, I own a bakery. I create sweets, right? But I'm always, even as a baker and as the owner of a baking brand, I'm always conscious of how we market the sweet treat, and how it is branded for our audience. I don't market or push the bakery as, at least now. In the beginning, yes. I try not to push it as satisfy a sweet tooth. I try to market it now as we specialize in homemade desserts from scratch with no preservatives and no additives. Like, this is a treat, a special treat. And what makes it, unique and better than what's on the market? Why would you buy a processed cake when you can have one that is made with fresh ingredients, real ingredients, and that is sustainable? And I think as a woman in food, do you think that is something that women who are creating food products, brands, drinks, spirits, these things, should this also maybe be part of their um, vision for their company or their branding, is to be mindful of how you're marketing this product to our community that struggles with food? You understand me by that? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad I'm so glad you brought up that question, because I gotta tell you something. When I first found out about the Black women food, the way we
Yes.
met, I was I was like, I don't know, is this going to be a place for me? Is there going to be a
Right.
place in this space for me? Who's going to be in there? Or there's going to be a bunch of a bunch of people selling soul food that will kill you.
No,
So,
no. Right. That's
so I mean,
a good question.
so that was my question for myself. Who's
Right.
who's going to be in this space? And so when I went to the summit last year, I was so happy. I was
Right.
so pleasantly surprised to see Black women in farmers, to see sustainability, to see women there selling um, um, confections
Right.
that had a healthy spin on them. Uh,
Mhm.
that kind of thing, because I I'm so I'm so committed.
Right.
I'm so committed to the health of my sisters, right?
Mm.
I understand how we've been marketed with these foods that are impairing our health. And when we can't get a handle on this, when we don't get a handle on this, it health is all we got, right?
Well,
And so
yeah.
I read something a while back, and it said, if you have your health, you can have 1,000 dreams.
Right. Ooh.
If you don't have your health, you have but
Mm.
one.
Wow.
You have but one.
That's
And
powerful.
I do not want the people to continue to fall into this trap of
Mhm.
seeing food as entertainment. And I'm not saying
Right.
that you can't have a good time when you go out and eat, but if it becomes the only thing you do in your life, to the
Right.
point that your world gets smaller and smaller, because you cannot see, I love the title, beyond the plate. When we understand that the plate in front of us
Mhm.
is for us so that we can live a life beyond the plate. And so
Exactly.
when we're focused on our life beyond the plate, how do we want to live? How do we want to look? How do we want to feel? How do we want to show up? Once we have that picture of our purpose, how we want to step into this world, then we can eat to give us that life. That the food is not the end goal.
Right.
It is a tool. It is a tool for us to live in our purpose and do the work that we want to live. Not the ultimate ending. So yeah,
So with
did that
that
answer?
in mind, yeah. Oh, you answered my question. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're gonna have to bring you back to make this a longer conversation. But to that end, then I want to ask you. So as a food coach, food story coach, and we're coming down to the last few minutes of the show, but I definitely want to get this in. Like, what is the vision for your business, for what you're doing, and how can we support you in that vision over the next couple of years? Like, what's your goal for the next 2, 3, 5 years for what you're doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my my goal is to raise the collective consciousness
Hmm.
of why we eat what we eat.
Right.
The Our collective consciousness. So when we start to take our minds back, I want people to think before everything they put in their mouth.
Mm.
Is this really food? Why do I think that this is food? What am I feeling right now? Is it hungry or is it something else? Why this food now? And if this food is not going to give me the life, the health, the body, the strength that I say that I want, why am I eating it? I, I want I I want people to be conscious, to get
Right.
aware, because in consciousness and awareness is where we can transform. And what I want is I want to see the numbers going down, because when I look at the numbers and I see that 4 out of 5 African American women are either overweight or obese,
Yes.
that breaks my heart.
Mm.
And what and that's some sort of moral failing. It's not.
Right.
But what it is, it's a lack of understanding, and it's a lack of understanding that has been pushed upon us.
Right.
It has been forced upon us. And I my goal is for us to push back and push back and reclaim our health and our lives.
And still enjoy
Yeah,
the living. I mean, a plate can still be enjoyed. Again, it's just
absolutely.
being mindful and intentional about what you put in your mouth. And the work that I teach is also be mindful and intentional about what you put in here, because what you put in your
Absolutely.
brain, you're going to look
Absolutely.
for and you're going to speak. So again, as Janine Roth and others are also saying, and I love the work that you're doing, you need to be paying attention to your why. Why am I eating this? Am I really
Yes.
hungry, or am
Yes.
I trying not to feel something? Now, that brings me to my mindset growth stuff for you. My question for you, my last question for you that I give to every guest, because this is
Okay.
what I do. I want to know, how do you care for yourself doing this work? What is your daily wellness mindset practice that keeps you going?
Okay. Okay. So my daily mindset practice is the mindset practice that I teach the people that I coach. It is 4 things.
Hmm.
It is 4 things. It is meditation. And it's like for me it's a simple meditation. I count. Right?
Right.
I
Yes.
count. I count and I breathe. I
Hmm.
count and I breathe. That's the first one. The second one is affirmations, right? It's making a decision. It's making it a decision for what I want in my life, like it's already here,
Right.
right? It's talking to myself in a positive way, right? Vision, right? Meditation, affirmations, visualization.
Yeah.
It's what I said earlier. It is what's for me beyond the plate. What does that look like? What does that smell like? What does that taste like? What does that feel like? Who's in that picture? Right? To be able to see that, that's writing. That leads to the writing. To be able to see it and then capture it on paper. And at the core of that, Rebecca, is this: for the women that I work with, for so many longs as I struggle with my weight. And here's the thing that I got is I realized that before I ever gained an extra pound, an extra ounce, or extra anything on my body, I gained it in my head first. I
Mm.
gained it in my thoughts first.
Love that.
And
Yes.
when you get whatever it is out of your head, because
Hmm.
our bodies follow our brain.
Yes.
When we get it out of our heads and onto the paper or into community, into a supportive community,
Right.
then the weight can't wrap around it. That's the thing. When it's out of you and onto the paper, then
Yes.
right, there's nothing There, 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 there's nothing negative that can be attached to it because it's out of you. So the visualization, the affirmation, the meditation, and the writing, those
Love that.
those four things keep me.
Well, Michelle, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. We're going to have to definitely bring you back because you have so much information to share, and I could probably talk to you for hours. While we're winding down, can you quickly give us your socials? I mean, we're going to put
Let's
that
do it.
on our social media, but I want to hear you. How can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you quickly?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I am you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Facebook at I am brand new now. Because it's
I
all
am
about brand
brand new now.
I
Yes.
am brand new now. It's all about brand new thinking. You can email me directly, Michelle at michellepettis.com, Petties.
Yes.
Um I answer all of my emails. And if anybody is watching right now, listening right now, you email me. I will share with you my mind over meals. It's a free PDF. It's a
Yes.
free PDF that really gets you deeply into my core principles of how to change your mindset, change your belief system,
Yes.
change your mind so your body can follow you in a healthy way. I'll send you that free PDF. You follow those principles, you can change your mind and
Love
change your
it.
life, change your body.
Love it. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another fantastic episode of Beyond the Plate. Please share this episode, this show, all the shows really with your network. We appreciate your support. Again, we look forward to having you back with us next season. Thank everyone so much for your support. This season, season 5, has been fantastic. If you know of a Black or brown woman who would be a perfect guest on our show to talk about her food journey, her business, her entrepreneurial spirit, please send us an email at info@rlpproductions.com. Again, that's info@rlpproductions.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Instagram, Beyond the Plate RVA, YouTube, RLP Productions. And with that, again, Michelle, thank you. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.